breathtakingly beautiful, isn't it? That's the Pangong So right behind me. And this has been my face all through this trip around Ladakh. Now, this isn't the first time that I'm visiting this place. I've been here before in a car and it was a little boring. This time around, I'm on a motorcycle, a KTM 390 adventure. Now, this isn't any ordinary family tour. This has been hardcore stuff so far. In fact, this is a halfway point through our trip around Ladakh. So let me take you back to the beginning and tell you why we are here. And stick around because we're going to take you to a very, very special place.
The ride we were about to set out on is part of KTM's Pro Experiences initiative that helps owners learn and understand the best possible ways to enjoy riding their KTMs. Under the same umbrella, the Great Ladakh Tour falls in the KTM Adventure Tours category. As the name suggests, this is a multi-day trip, unlike the KTM Adventure Academy or Trails events that are usually conducted over the course of a day. At this point, I have to declare that I've always been a tarmac-bred rider and I don't enjoy riding off-road. Hence, while a part of me was elated as we assembled at the starting point in Chandigarh, the fear of crashing the bike loomed. Well, the first day itself was quite action-packed and there was a lot of excitement. It was all palpable, it was in the air. I was surrounded by a motley bunch of KTM 390 adventure owners, most of whom had ridden down from various corners of the country. Representing our neighbors were Bijay Mokhtan, the general manager of KTM Nepal, and two of his customers, all of whom had made it to Chandigarh from Kathmandu on their respective KTM Adventure 390s. I guess the fact that everyone was astride similar KTM machines was a common thread that bound them together from the first day itself. The Great Ladakh Adventure Tour distinguishes itself from the rest of the adventure tours by being the toughest and most demanding of them all. This explains why the riders had to undergo special pre-tour mentorship sessions. Given how demanding high altitudes can get, we also had a special motivational talk by Ajit Bajaj, a Padma Shri awardee, the night before we set off. Among his many achievements, he has also conquered the mighty Mount Everest with his daughter in tow. To listen to his experiences and learn about how to keep one's morale in the most trying situations was the mental conditioning we needed before embarking on a journey. 30-odd riders in a convoy led by 3 KTM trainers, Nilesh Dhumal, Varad More and Sangram Patil, made their way out of Chandigarh towards Manali via Bilaspur and Mandi. Nice highway. It was smooth, it was empty, it was devoid of too much of tourist traffic. It gave us a chance to really push these motorcycles hard because it's a good engine, pretty powerful, and it's a nice and comfortable riding position. So it really set the mood for the next 13-14 days. As we set off to higher altitudes the following day, everyone got into a rhythm with their motorcycles. The roads leading to Jaspa, a halt for the night, were winding and smooth. The highlight though was the ride through the 9-kilometer long Atal tunnel, and there's a remarkable change in the scenery as we come out on the other side. Greeted by these deep blue skies and green towering mountains with the river flowing next to you. It's quite a sight in itself, and the best part is when you're on a motorcycle you get to soak all of that in. It's like you're part of the scenery. On reaching Jaspa, while we stood mesmerized by the vistas around us, the trainers decided to take things up a notch. That evening we went towards Chinkola Pass, and the purpose was because they wanted to get us acclimatized. So we rode past a water crossing, and that was one of the first big challenges that all of us faced. The trick to make it through without falling was to grip the motorcycle with the legs, hold the handlebar as loose as I dare, and keep the throttle steady. It was easier said than done, but despite a few falls, most made it through without incident. This drill certainly came in handy the next day en route to Sarchu as we crossed the Pagal Nala that consisted of shallow water but heavier flow. We stayed for the night at Sarchu, and that's where we faced another issue.
Big issue, especially in places like Sarchu where it's cold and windy and oxygen levels are low and your body is fighting to acclimatize itself. So you had to fight AMS and you had to be on the motorcycle, balance it, ride off-road. So this wasn't easy. As I said in the beginning, this was not a family tour. This is not a cozy, comfortable ride.
To compound matters, the next day's ride from Sarchu to Leh was long, with over 250 kilometers to cover over myriad terrain. From talcum powder-like sand to rock-strewn paths, the first 30 kilometers from the Sarchu checkpost were nerve-wracking, to say the least. An hour later, the all-inviting tarmac of the iconic 21 hairpin Gata loops appeared as a welcome relief. This was followed by my favorite section of the Manali-Leh highway. The entire stretch from Moreh Plains to Leh via Tanglangla, Rumste and Upshi is a motorcyclist's delight. This is where I was reminded why motorcycling and Zen are spoken of in the same sentence. After a day's rest in Leh, it was time to embark on the tougher leg of the trip. Remember, you don't conquer the mountains, they let you pass, said Varad More in a stern tone as we gathered to leave. It was a warning for us to respect the mountains and ride cautiously as we made our way up Khardungla, the highest mountain pass on our trip. Cresting the summit, we rolled down into the stunning Nubra Valley. The trainers thought of this place to be perfect for setting up a high altitude sand dune training academy.
So far, I've been trying to fight my fears of riding off-road. As I said in the beginning of this video, off-road isn't my scene, but this is the reason why KTM has set up this camp, so that it teaches you how to ride the 390 Adventure.
And it wasn't only me that was petrified about riding in sand.
I'll try my best, but it's like very dangerous. It's my first time, so I'll try my best.
The sand dunes I didn't find in Nepal because there are no sand dunes. That part was so fun, man. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot.
I've never done anything on the sand, and this is my first time. I think I'll make it, and it's going to be a good experience, exciting and adventurous.
Level 2 and 3 involved deeper sand followed by riding up a dune. For the ones who did manage to try them out, it was a huge learning curve. Dusting the sand off our gear, it was time to call it a night in our cozy tents, for the next day was the one we were all eagerly looking forward to. Being an active war zone, the Siachen base camp is off limits for the general public, but with special permissions in place, we were the lucky few who were granted access to the highest battlefield in the world. After a warm welcome by the Indian Army, we proceeded to pay our respects at the OP Baba shrine inside the base.
The last few kilometers before you reach the base camp is when you actually see the glacier in the distance and you understand that whatever you read about the Siachen glacier and whatever you've seen, the documentaries you've watched, none of those documentaries really give you an idea about how harsh life is over there, and what our soldiers go through to protect our boundaries.
For the riders, it was a momentous occasion as they could proudly state that they had ridden their KTM 390 adventures to the Siachen base camp. How's that for bragging rights?
These guys are up there in minus 50 at some point in the winter, and that's a tough life. So all of us were filled with pride for what our soldiers do for our nation.
With a swell of emotions within us and immense gratitude towards our armed forces, it was time to head to Pangong, so undoubtedly one of the most popular tourist destinations in the region. The azure sky paled against the deep blue and turquoise waters of the endorheic lake, leaving us mesmerized by its sheer sight. As if that wasn't enough, we then set course for another lake after a few hours.
So Moriri isn't as popular as Pangong, so we're expecting less tourist traffic around there. The challenge here is that a majority of the road is not there, it's not present, so it's off-road. While I have been trying to get over my fear of riding off-road, this is the ultimate test. This is what the trainers have trained us for.
The varying colors of the mountains, from brown to purple, makes you think that Mother Nature lavished a great deal of her attention towards painting this part of the world.
Also realized that everybody started to become comfortable about riding over these broken sections and patches and whatnot, and also some smooth tarmac. So as each day progressed, people started to get better and better and more in sync with their motorcycles.
Upon reaching So Moriri, Varad decided to present one last challenge for us to conquer. After all, from here onwards we would pretty much retrace our way back to Chandigarh via Sokar and the Moreh Plains.
But again, Varad had a big surprise for us because he rode up a hill, and that was scary. It looked scary in the beginning, but it was all about keeping your momentum and reaching the summit. Not everyone, but about 15 of us managed to climb that hill successfully, and the view from the top was nothing short of superb.
Relatively untouched by the evils of tourism, its waters were pristine, while the enchanting snow-capped mountains glistened in the setting sun. We were possibly the only motorcycle-born riders to have made it up to this viewpoint. That's when American actor Danny Kaye's words struck me. To travel is to take a journey into yourself. This trip to Ladakh has been nothing short of a revelation for me and several others. Did I become an off-road specialist in the 2 weeks that I spent there? Not really. But yes, I was happy that I could let go of my fear of riding off-road and have an adventure of a lifetime. More importantly, I had the pleasure of experiencing this on a hardy and capable adventure motorcycle with like-minded people who forged indelible bonds over 2,590 kilometers.
2 days of hardcore off-road, and I'm gonna be impressed because I'm really impressed with what this motorcycle has done.
The camaraderie we shared, the experiences we underwent, and the words of encouragement that flew whenever one felt bogged down by the challenging terrain. It was all that made this trip unforgettable.